Hi guys, it's Carla. Today I'll be painting this dew-covered leaf, the leaf with little water droplets on it. I'm using an 8x10 canvas panel and acrylic paint. This is black, raw umber, white, chrome yellow, raw sienna, green oxide, magenta, violet, and phthalo blue. I'm going to start with the background with just a variety of colors, some lights, some darks, and you can kind of get creative with this because it really doesn't matter as long as it kind of goes with the colors in your leaf. And I'm using a flat brush. You can use as big a brush as you want to cover this. Alright, I'm going to pick up some yellow, little raw sienna, the main thing with this background is I just want my colors to kind of fade into each other. Now remember, this is the background that's what's behind the leaf that will kind of look like there's stuff going on back there, but you can't really tell what. That's the idea, so that it will look like it's farther away. So it's got to all blend into each other. You don't want any hard lines back here. Now when you have dry canvas peeking through, like little specks of white that you see, you can rinse your brush and kind of leave it a little wet. And if you go over this while it's still, before the paint dries, then it will kind of dilute the paint that's on there and make it thinner so that it can fit down into those little crevices. When the paint is thicker, it just kind of sits on top. But this will actually get down into those little grooves. Sometimes you think it's all covered, and then you look again and find more specks. Okay, so I think I've got a nice colorful background going on, and now I'm gonna dry it and come back and put in my bokeh. Bokeh is just little round, like glowing light. I'm no scientist, so I can't tell you what causes that, but you see it in a lot of photography. So I'm going to dry this and come back with the bokeh. Alright, now this is dry, and I'm going to use my Deerfoot stippler. This is just a round brush. It's round this way, and then it has an angle on it, like in the shape of a deer foot. So, and it's stiff bristled. And if you don't have a Deerfoot stippler, you could use some kind of, let's see, some kind of hog bristle brush, something stiff, or maybe a small mop brush. But I'm going to use my Deerfoot stippler to put this bokeh in. Alright, so a lot of the bokeh I see is kind of a pale, dirty yellow. Okay, and I want to wipe most of it off my brush. Okay, so I'm just going to decide where I want this and just scrub it in little circles. You can put as many or as few of these as you want. Now I'm going to come back with some white and just kind of lighten some of these. Just so I'll have different shades of light back there. Looks like some of them have a little hint of green. All right, now I think that's enough bokeh. I'm going back to my flat brush now, and I want to brighten up some of this yellow. I like to have some what I call hot spots in my paintings where there's some really vibrant color. I just think that looks good. Okay, now I'm going to start on my leaf. And I'm going to use my angle brush for that, whatever size you feel comfortable with. I'm going to pick up some of my magenta, a little purple, all right, now I want to make the stem for my leaf. So it starts up here, and I'm just using the edge of my brush to make this thin line. It's going to come down. It's not straight. Try to avoid making it straight. Sometimes you got to change the color of things in the foreground when the background changes color. So like right here I've got this dark area, so I'm going to have to bring out more of my lighter shade, like more of the pink, when I'm on top of it. But as I come down here, this is a lighter background, so I want it to be darker. And I know that sounds weird, but if you look at things in real life, that's what it looks like. It looks like the object in the front changes color based on what's behind it. You know, it really doesn't, but it does look like that. Okay. All right, now I'm going to go ahead and put in my smaller leaves up here, and then I'll come back to this main leaf. All right, now I'm using the edge of my brush to form the edge of the leaf, because I want it to be a sharp edge, and I want it to be kind of jagged, so I'm kind of moving it, kind of squiggling it to form that jagged edge. But I want to keep it sharp. Okay, so that's the basic shape of that leaf, and while it's wet, I want to go ahead and kind of blend this out so that I don't have any sharp edges, any hard lines to contend with. But I want to keep the sharp edges on the outside. Now this whole line right here is sharp because it's just an edge. Okay, now I'm going to move on to my next leaf while I've got this color on my brush. Now this one is just barely a little piece of a leaf. Now I'll come back and make that show up better in a bit. All right, now for my main leaf. All right, so it starts right here, and again I'm going to use the edge of my brush to form that sharp and jagged edge of the leaf. All right, now while this is wet, I'm going to blend that out. Because if you leave this hard like this and you come back to it when it's dry, you'll be kicking yourself for not blending it out, because it'll be almost impossible to cover. And remember, you don't have to have a traceable for this or anything, because leaves are all different shapes and sizes, and so you can just kind of form your own. Okay, now I'm just using a small thin synthetic flat brush for this. Use whatever you're comfortable with, but I'm just using it to fill in the inside of the leaves. So I'm going to use some green and yellow. And start filling this in. Now, it's not going to end up this color, but I want to go ahead and get that background covered. Sometimes it takes several coats to get good coverage. And again, while I'm doing this, I don't want to form any hard lines either, so I want to make sure I keep it blended. Wherever my color ends, I want it to be a soft transition. Except right here at the stem. Now the stem, at the stem it is going to be a hard line. All right, now rinse my brush, and I'm going to start putting in some other colors. Let's see, right here I see some dark purple and kind of bluish, like a dark purpley blue color. Again, make up your own colors. Leaves are just all very different from each other. What you can do is pick up some white and give yourself a base coat wherever you want this really light color. Like if I want pink right here, I could put in some white just where I want the pink to be. And when it dries, you can go over it and the pink will show up bright. But again, even with the white, even with just a base coat, you want it to be blended. I think I'll do that everywhere that I want the pink because it really doesn't show up very well at all. Now I'm going to leave this, I've got a clip right there so I can't paint that, but I'm going to leave this edge right here sharp because it is the outside edge, but then I'm going to blend it in right there. Trying to figure out where else I see that pink. Okay, now I've rinsed my brush, and now I can start putting my pink in, and it should show up a lot better. All right, now I rinsed my brush, and I'm gonna put in some more colors. I'm very softly brushing this on. If you put too much pressure on it, you won't be able to get this soft blended look. And I also don't have a ton of paint on my brush. Okay, I've rinsed my brush. I'm going to put in some of this lighter green shade. I'm really loving the colors in this painting. Okay, now I think this pink is dry enough now to come in with my next coat to kind of deepen the color. Keep in mind with acrylic paint that once it dries, it kind of tends to get darker and duller. So, you know, most of the time you have to come back with more than one coat. There's places along this edge that needs to be brighter. You don't want to completely outline everything, but especially when you have dark on top of dark, like right here, if you'll give it a little bit of reflective light there, it helps it to show up. Okay, I'm going to take a little purple, a little blue, a little touch of white. Again, just look at yours and see where you want more color, what color you want. And if you have a certain place where you think you might want to hang it when you're finished, kind of go by what colors you have in that area, and you might want to put more of that in here. If I can brighten up my stem a little bit. Okay, now I'm going to try something here before I move on with my leaves. I'm going to try this in the background. I'm using my synthetic angle brush, and I'm going to pick up some green and water it down. I'm just making a glaze. This is a very subtle change, but it is it does make a difference if you want to kind of bring everything together. Kind of unifies it. It kind of softens the background by bringing it all together. It kind of puts it more in the distance, I guess. But you don't ever want to add a glaze until it's completely dry. I don't know that you can tell on the monitor what this is doing, but in person you can see it. Okay, now I'm just experimenting here. I may have to come back over my bokeh and brighten it up, but I want to get back here to this yellow and put a glaze on it. I might after a while brighten those back up, but I don't know. It didn't really dull them down too much, so I don't know. We'll see once it dries, once that glaze dries. Okay, now you can also come in with a small synthetic brush and make a dark purple and black, and just here and there you might want like a darker edge or something, like right here I might make that a little more bold. Just here and there, not everywhere. Make sure you keep it blended. Now this edge right here, I want it to be dark against that light. Most objects, when they have a bright light behind them, they do appear very dark and very sharp. Okay. Now with my tiny little flat brush, or you could use a small round brush, whatever, I'm going to start forming my water droplets. Alright, and for that color, I'm going to use green, purple, a little touch of black. Maybe some blue. I want a really dark color, but black is kind of boring, so I try to steer away from using too much of that. Okay. So I'm going to start with my bigger droplets. Okay, I'm going to have to add a little bit of black because that is too light. If you want your water to look really realistic, you have to make your darks really dark and your lights really light. Okay, so now I've got that sharp edge underneath my water droplet. And then this one I want to blend out. And if you keep a paper towel handy, you can wipe your brush and blend that. Okay, so now we've got the basic shape of the droplet, and then we'll come back with other colors inside it. Okay, so we're just going to keep going with that and make as many water droplets as you want. Just make sure that you keep the edge sharp, and then blend it in. Some water droplets form a closed circle, and some, you know, they're kind of almost like they're streaming down, so they're kind of open on one end. So just make a variety of different kinds. Okay, now I've put in several, I'll switch to a little round brush. I've put in several of these water droplets. And down here, it's kind of puddled up on there. But it's not quite as dark. So I'm going to pick up some green with that dark color on my brush. I'm going to pick up some green and make like a kind of a dark forest green, I guess. All right, so it's just puddled up down here on the bottom edge of the leaf. It's picking up a reflection, I guess, in the trees and forming a certain shape, but you can make it whatever shape you want. Just create your own. And then also up here on this leaf, it's kind of petaled up inside the leaf. Okay, now I dried this because here's what happens in water droplets. whatever color is behind the drop, the water, it reflects like a lighter version of that color on top of it. So like right here, I would have a lighter version of this green. That's what I'm going to put in here. On these droplets, it would be a lighter version of this pink. So just pay attention to what's behind the water. All right, so I'm going to start with my green. Okay, had to get some more green. I'm going to start with my green and stick with it so that until I get all the green ones done, so that I don't have to keep switching back and forth with my colors and washing my brush. So I'm looking for a lighter version of this. Okay, so I don't want a ton of paint on my brush, but I'm going to start at the brightest spot and work my way out. So that I don't have any hard edges. I want to kind of blend this. Now this one right here, just because it's a puddle and not a droplet, this one does keep that sharp edge. I've got to keep looking at what's behind the water droplet so I'll know what color to use. This one has green right here, but it's going to have pink right there, so put the green in. I'm just brightening it up now because, again, it's acrylic paint, so it will dull and darken. Okay, now I've rinsed that brush and I'm gonna start on my pink droplets. So I want a little lighter version of what's on there. Yeah, there we go. Don't want to miss any. Okay, now I've rinsed my brush. The next color is that blue. Okay, now I do want to go ahead and brighten up some of this bokeh before I finish my water droplets. I just want 2 or 3 of them to be brighter than the others. Okay, now it's time to highlight my water droplets. Now for these very small ones, I'm going to use a toothpick and just put a little slither of light on each one. And you can see right away how they're already starting to look wet. Now for the bigger ones, I'm going to use my little flat synthetic brush. And I want to pick up some white, but I want it to be watered down. I haven't sprayed this in a while anyway, so I'm going to go ahead and do this. And that will water that white down. Okay, so right here I'm going to follow the direction of the water, and because this is really thin, it's not going to cover it completely, so it'll still be, you'll still be able to see the color through it. I guess this is a glaze. Okay, now I think that's got them all glazed. And now I'm going to come back with pure white and put some highlights on them. I don't know what that's a reflection of, but it's on there. Okay, there's also on this edge of the stem is a highlight. And then here and there I see a little highlight just to, I guess it indicates that the leaf is wet. Not necessarily a water droplet, but just a wet leaf. Kind of adding a few more droplets with just white. Now actually on the underneath side of that leaf up there, I see some, almost like it's, I don't really know. Maybe it's just the texture of the leaf, or maybe it's water droplets on the other side showing through. But regardless, there's some texture there. Okay, I believe that does it. I hope you enjoyed this, and I hope you try it. If you like it, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you haven't done that, and check out my other videos. And until next time, thanks for painting. Bye, guys.